and it's time for the presentation on Baba's contribution to the science of asanas. And the two presenters, one is Dr. Vishvarupananda, and he was designated by Baba as the Global MERT Coordinator. He's actively facilitating a weekly food distribution program now in Washington, D.C., and he's also the director of AMAYE, which is the Anandamarga Association of Yoga Educators. Dada presents yoga teacher trainings throughout the world as well. So thank you for coming here, and please start.
Thank you, Vishwadeva. Namaskar, everybody. Nice to be with you. Well, it's going to be a little challenging to fit a lot of information into a short period of time. So this is just a cursory view of the origins and specialities of the 42 Anandamarga asanas. I've tried to piece together the history as best I can. And so I thought I would start with that, just to sort of embed it in some sort of historical context. So if we're looking at those 42 asanas and where they came from, we can start with this text. It's the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a 15th century text written by Svatmarama. Not too much is known about him, most likely in the northeast part of India. Now, 10 of our 42 asanas appear in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So, I guess the case I'm going to try to make here is that our practice is a northeastern Indian practice compared to the southern Indian practice of Krishnamacharya. So that's the one text. And then the second text is the Gheranda Samhita, 17th century. Now, 19 of the 32 asanas in this text are from the Anandamarga body of asana practice. And it seems that this fellow, Gheranda, was also from northeast India. And so again, the suggestion is that the asana practice, if we're looking at its geographical origin, is from northeast India. Maybe we can say the Bengal area. And these are just 4 of the asanas that appear in the Gheranda Samhita, and 2 more. Now, I've been trying to find out also exactly how Baba gave these 42 asanas, and unfortunately it's been rather challenging, which is a little sad because we do need to know the origins of how they came about, from our own guru. So what I found out was that Baba taught some of the asanas to Sukumar Bose, and Sukumar Bose was one of Baba's relatives, and he also worked in the same railway department as Baba did. And apparently the first asanas were taught to Sukumar Bose in 1955 at the origins of Anandamarga itself. And what happened after that is an unknown. I was given the names of different people who received the asanas over a certain period of time. Sukumar Bose himself became an acharya, family acharya, and he taught the asanas. And Abhedananda, one of the personal assistants for the guru way back, was also taught the asanas by Baba and also disseminated them. So this is all I have for now, which is just a sketch, I guess, of how our own guru imparted the asanas. It would be so nice to know more, obviously, what was the context and the reason he gave for performing the asanas, the benefits of each particular asana he might have given to individuals, but we don't have all of those details right now. So then to conclude that little section, our practice has a geographical orientation. Of course, it's universal in scope, but its roots are in eastern India, we can say northeastern India. Now, some poses that Baba gave are not easily found. It seems that he created these poses himself. So if you take the Karmasana, for example, I've not seen that anywhere else in the yoga world in the form that he gave it, in the sequence that he gave it. Padahasasana, people do the Padahasasana in other ways, but not exactly the way that we practice in Anandamarga. Bhavasana, the ideation pose, is another one that seems to be unique. The way Baba taught Garudasana, which is very different from the regular Hatha Yoga Garudasana, and Jatila Utkatasana. So it seems that there is a contribution of some unique poses that Baba gave also. Now let's look at, this is my mother, by the way. My mother was a great yogini. I wish it was my mother, it would have helped. But Baba gave 4 benefits of the Anandamarga yoga practice. And I'm going to talk about 2. Then I'm going to hand it over to Mahajyoti, who will talk about another 2. So Mahajyoti is going to be talking about flexibility and to balance the hormonal secretions. So here we are then with body-mind balance. Now I was looking actually for the exact reference of this in Baba's writings, the reference for these 4 benefits, but I couldn't find it just before I came online here, but I'm going to keep searching. So then our asana practice, of course, it's not unique to our asana practice, right? Other asana practices will harmonize body and mind. So what I'm talking about, I guess, is what characterizes our asana practice, and in some instances, what makes it a little unique. So one thing that we do in our asana practice, which is not widely done, is shavasana after each asana, or maybe after 2 or 3 asanas. So this obviously will slow down the practice. And in this world in which everybody seems to be quite agitated, everybody is so stimulated or hyperstimulated by all of the social media and devices we have around us all the time, slow yoga, mindful yoga, being fully in the present yoga is critically important. So we advocate that in our practice. It's a mindfully slow practice in which we do shavasana to assimilate the benefit of the pose, but also to be present with ourselves in the practice. And so our practice then gives people a refreshing space to be in stillness and to be in reflection and to be in communion with the body, because it's when we are present in Shavasana that we can commune with ourselves, assuming the mind is not jumping all over the place. But this is the point of our practice, is to help those who have the agitated monkey mind to become more centered by harmonizing mind and body in the same space. Now, this is really interesting. I've not seen any other school of yoga advocating an 8-second kumbhaka. Maybe there is a kumbhaka, there's a breath hold in some other schools, but the 8-second kumbhaka. Now, why precisely 8 seconds? Nobody knows, but I have a theory. So one thing that's very important, not just for mind-body balance, but for coherence amongst all the various systems in the body, is the breath rate. And research shows that if one has a breath rate of between 6 and 8 breaths a minute, it puts the body into a state of coherence, right? All states in the body are functioning in harmony together and they're happy. Now, if we hold for 8 seconds, so let's say we do Bhujangasana, the cobra. So we do it 8 times and we hold for 8 seconds. So if we do that, then you can calculate that we'll be doing around 6 breaths a minute. So inadvertently, when people practice in this way with the 8-second kumbhaka, they're putting themselves into the state of coherence. And this is one reason why people feel so good after an asana practice. They feel so present, so calm, so joyful, is because of this state of coherence. Now, this is my theory about why 8 seconds. I'm sure there are others, but regardless of whether it's 7 seconds or 6 seconds or 9 seconds, there's no doubt that our asana practice is facilitating this very sweet feeling of multidimensional harmony within the mind-body complex. Self-massage, well, we know that self-massage is good for the circulation of lymph, but also it's a way for people to interact with their body. People often, if a lot of people, maybe they're just heads going from meeting to meeting. The body is simply a vehicle to carry people from class to class or meeting to meeting or screen to screen. And there isn't this, this sense of embodiment, if you will. So self-massage also provides the benefit of enabling people to feel their embodiment, to feel their proximity to their physical body. Now, the fourth benefit is to prepare the mind for spiritual practice, for sadhana. Baba's clearly said that those who cannot do sadhana should do asana as a substitute. And over time, by becoming more balanced in the asana practice, their minds will be more able to do sadhana. So let's see about this then. So here we have kumbhaka again. So pranayama and kumbhaka. Our kumbhaka is called Yudhisthira kumbhaka. Yudhisthira is one who is calm in battle. So when we do our pranayama, right, with ideation and with breath hold, we are becoming steady. You could talk about, activating the parasympathetic nervous system with long exhalations, and thereby becoming in this place of steadiness where the monkey mind is calmed. We feel earthed inside of ourselves. We feel anchored inside of ourselves and less affected by the craziness around us. So then our asana practice, of course, others do this too, but this is something I think that strongly characterizes our practice, is to move mindfully with the breath. We can use slow exhalations in so many different poses. We can do forward bending, for example, with slow exhalations, bringing down the arms with slow exhalations, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, thereby bringing people to a place of sweet calmness. And in that sweet calmness, this steadiness, this strength of being, which is critically important. Now, pranayama, in a spiritual sense, is the space between. It's, you could also call it the samana vayu. So normally, prana and apana vayus, right, they're moving in different directions. The analogy given is that a bird, right, is trying to fly off a tree, but it's weighed down with a rock hanging from one of its legs. And so it's stuck between being grounded and being, flighty. And so when one does kumbhaka, the directions reverse, and prana and apana vayus, they meet in samana. One becomes then centered. So the space between, or the breath between, is a very valuable place for a tantric practitioner. We have space between thoughts. When we do our sadhana practice, right, we are moving to that place between thoughts, the place of pure consciousness within which the thoughts have their lives. So similarly, in kumbhaka, in asana practice, we can go to that place of oceanic stillness. Now, we don't teach, at least initially, we don't teach breath hold, we don't teach kumbhaka in pranayama, but we do it within the asana practice. So we are giving a practitioner the opportunity to feel the beauty of the space between, the beauty of this oceanic stillness of expansive consciousness within their asana practice. So it's sneaky in a way, right? We are, we are giving people a way to enjoy the depth of spirituality without necessarily explicitly explaining what we are doing. The other thing about kumbhaka is that there's a certain irony here that when we increase the level of carbon dioxide in the blood, which we do when we hold the breath, it helps to really release oxygen from hemoglobin, and of course up to a certain point. And so what happens then in kumbhaka, when one becomes more tolerant to carbon dioxide, is there is more oxygenation. Now, this is particularly important in the brain. So, because there's so much activity in the brain, a lot of the blood is utilized in the brain. And so kumbhaka can actually help to oxygenate the brain, which could perhaps make the brain more available for a focused meditative practice. And drishti, well, this is not unique to our practice at all, but it's like putting dharana into the asana practice, right? So if we're doing a shoulder stand, sarvangasana, then we're focusing between the tips of the big toes. If we're doing virasana, we're focusing at the tip of the nose. And so in this way, we have a focus. Like bhavasana, we're focusing at the Agya chakra. So clearly, when we do sadhana, we need a strong dharana to be able to hold the mind on the practice. And so then we can help train people in dharana, in our asana practice, by doing drishti in certain poses. So see how cool our practice is, right? I mean, our practice is wonderfully designed as a preparatory stage for a deeper sadhana practice. And just to close, before I hand over to Mahajyoti, so these are some of the asanas that we have that are very helpful for sadhana preparation. So bhavasana, focus on the Agya chakra. It's beautiful, actually, this pose, and really helps people with mental concentration. As does Shashangasana. Jnanasana, according to Baba, helps people who have a dull mind, a drowsy mind, and obviously for a sadhana practice, one needs to have an alert, animated, vital mind. This is another beautiful asana practice, and rather difficult to do, but incredibly helpful. The Baddha Padmasana, incredibly helpful for focus of the mind. So there we are, two of the aspects of how our practice, asana practice, can be helpful. And I'm going to hand this over now to Mahajyoti. Let me stop the share. All right. Thanks, everybody. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dada.